Did you know that a vast majority of the world's population, something like 83% in recent studies, carries a particular virus?
83%.
Yeah, 83. Just kind of let that number sink in for a moment.
Hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the cytomegalovirus, or CMV, the silent, widespread guest living in many of our bodies.
That's right.
And this isn't just about, another common virus. It's really about understanding why it's so incredibly prevalent, how it actually manages to hide, what happens when it decides to reactivate, and maybe most importantly, what you can actually do about it.
And what's really remarkable here, I think, is how this virus, it's like a master of disguise, really. How it interacts so closely with our modern lifestyles.
Right.
We're going to explore its impact, and it's profound, from the physical stuff right through to the neurological, and crucially, connect the dots to something so many of us deal with daily: stress, persistent stress.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack the reality of CMV. We'll be using recent studies, and there's even a really powerful personal account of a viral reactivation we looked at,
Yeah, that was striking.
to arm you with some truly actionable insights. So with that mission in mind, let's really unpack this thing, starting with just how widespread CMV actually is.
Okay.
So how did CMV become this, ubiquitous presence?
Yeah.
Like we said, it's estimated 83% of the global population has immunoglobulins to it.
Those antibodies.
Yeah, those specific antibodies that tell us, you've not only been exposed, but you're now carrying it, usually lying dormant.
Which naturally leads to the question, if almost everyone has it, what is it exactly? Well, CMV is part of the herpes family, so think of it as a cousin to Epstein-Barr.
Ah, the monovirus.
Right, the one that causes mononucleosis, yeah. And also herpes zoster, which most people know better as shingles. Now, while having one might sort of predispose you to another, it's really important to remember it doesn't automatically guarantee they'll activate together or anything like that.
Got it. So the fascinating thing here isn't just that it's everywhere, but that you listening might already be living with this virus.
Quite possibly.
And maybe have no idea, like an invisible passenger.
Exactly. And, one of the most remarkable aspects of CMV is just how good it is at evading our defenses, our immune system.
How does it do that?
It doesn't just hide. It literally burrows deep into our metabolism. It makes itself effectively invisible to the immune system.
Wow.
And this isn't some new trick it learned. This virus has evolved right alongside us for, millennia, perfecting this strategy.
So it's just there, dormant. But what makes it wake up then? Is it like flipping a switch or?
That's a great way to put it. It's definitely more like a tipping point, I'd say. From what we've gathered from the sources, CMV is truly an opportunistic virus. It waits patiently for its moment, reactivating, as the source said, when it wants. Not necessarily when we want. It seizes a window of vulnerability.
And what opens that window?
Well, what really stands out as the primary trigger is a significant drop in immunity. And very often this is linked to persistent, intense stress. We're talking elevated cortisol levels over time.
Right. So not just like a bad day at work, but ongoing pressure.
Exactly. It's not necessarily about, say, catching the flu and CMV piggybacking on that, although weakened immunity is key. It's more about that chronic wear and tear from stress, which really raises a crucial question, doesn't it? How much stress is too much for our immune system?
How much before it can't keep these ancient viral contracts in check?
Precisely.
And we really saw this connection highlighted in that personal account from the source material, didn't we?
Absolutely.
This individual, they experienced a really severe viral reactivation, and it was triggered by intense work stress, lack of rest.
A really potent combination.
Yeah, and it was so bad, they actually caught it from a child, which just shows how vulnerable your system can become. It just powerfully underscores that link between stress and this virus.
No doubt.
So, okay, when CMV does reactivate, it sounds like it doesn't exactly pull its punches.
No, definitely not.
Our deep dive into the sources revealed a pretty wide and frankly debilitating range of symptoms.
That's right.
Yeah.
Physically, people often report this, just extreme fatigue and a pervasive generalized pain, like truly feeling like everything aches.
Joints, organs, everything.
Yeah, joints, visceral pain inside. And the headaches. They're often described as severe, almost like the head is exploding. And they get worse when looking up or to the sides, apparently. Yeah. And then there's this really distinctive eye pain.
Eye pain. How so?
A sensation described as like pins inside the eyes, especially when moving them. This specific symptom is actually noted in the sources as a pretty classic CMV sign.
Wow. Okay, so beyond that physical toll, which sounds rough, the emotional and mental impact seems really significant too.
Right.
One of the most vivid personal accounts described intense irritability or irascibility.
Irascibility.
The person felt bothered by absolutely everything, even describing the feeling as hating everyone. That's a really profound shift.
It is. And it's important to understand this isn't just, psychological stress manifesting. There's often a physiological basis.
How does that work?
Well, that visceral inflammation we mentioned, particularly in the liver, can actually lead to brain inflammation, what's technically called a pro-inflammatory neuralgia.
So the support cells in the brain get inflamed.
Exactly. And that can directly contribute to those severe headaches and the eye symptoms. It's also why you might feel that crushing lack of energy. Your body is literally fighting a hidden systemic battle.
Makes sense.
And yeah, other common symptoms during a flare-up can include hyperthermia, a fever, and just those pervasive body aches we talked about.
Okay, so if we try to connect the dots here, zoom out a bit,
Huh.
you mentioned the liver. It sounds like the liver is kind of ground zero in this whole story.
Absolutely. It emerges as the central organ, really. It's not only where CMV seems to replicate most efficiently, but it's also the primary place where the body tries to manage the virus, to fight back.
And the liver, I mean, from our research, it's described as this almost magical organ, right? So many functions it can regenerate.
It's incredible, yeah. But even this amazing organ has its limits.
Mm-hmm.
And when CMV activates, the liver takes a massive hit.
How so? What's the conflict there?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
The liver has these critical jobs. Immunity and detoxification are two huge ones. But during a full-blown viral attack like this, it really struggles to do both effectively at the same time.
Oh, okay.
It has to prioritize, and that's where the balance shifts,
Right.
and you start seeing those debilitating symptoms crop up.
Right. So if you're listening and experiencing things like, persistent extreme fatigue, that generalized pain, maybe visual discomfort, or signs of neuroinflammation like bad headaches, or that intense irritability we discussed, it sounds like it might be genuinely worth considering a blood test.
Definitely a conversation to have with your doctor.
You'd want to check your liver profile, obviously, and specifically for those CMV immunoglobulins.
Correct. And the sources also suggested it might be wise to test for Epstein-Barr and maybe even dengue, depending on your situation, as some symptoms can overlap. It's good to get the full picture.
Always better to know what you're dealing with. Okay, so that's the bad news, the tough part. But the good news in all of this is that you are definitely not powerless against this sneaky virus.
Not at all.
Our sources provide some really clear, actionable strategies, both for managing a flare-up if it happens, and maybe more importantly, for long-term prevention.
Absolutely. And the number one tool, especially when you're in that acute phase, is sleep.
Sleep. Sounds simple, but crucial.
Incredibly crucial. The litter does its best work, its real magic, at night, particularly during deep restorative sleep.
Okay.
So the strong recommendation from the sources is actually to try and go to bed early, maybe around 9 p.m., and really aim for a minimum of 9 hours.
9 hours, wow.
Yeah, and this isn't really about catching up with daytime naps. It's about that dedicated, solid block of nocturnal recovery for the liver and immune system.
Got it. Foundational sleep. And alongside that,
An anti-inflammatory diet is also highlighted as crucial.
makes sense.
That personal experience we talked about, it involved a 3-week, really committed adherence to that type of eating pattern, specifically to support the liver and the immune system during that recovery period.
Right. Giving the body the right fuel, taking away inflammatory triggers.
Precisely. But, beyond managing the immediate crisis, this brings up a really important question the sources touch on. Are we sometimes making empty promises to ourselves about our health?
What do you mean?
Well, the sources strongly emphasize that it's often the persistent poor lifestyle habits that make CMV reactivation much more likely in the first place. It's not just about that one period of acute stress. It's about the chronic, unhealthy patterns that wear down our resilience over time.
Ah, okay. So it's the long game. What kind of detrimental modern habits are we talking about here?
Well, the ones that came up repeatedly were first, sedentarism. Our bodies evolved to move, but so many of us are desk-bound most of the day.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
Yeah, me too. Then there's the lack of sun exposure. Spending all day indoors under artificial lights, we miss out on vital natural signals for our bodies.
Vitamin D, circadian rhythms.
All of it. And of course, the pervasive poor diet, too much processed stuff, not enough actual real food. And finally, disrupted sleep cycles. Staying up late, glued to screens, maybe even working late, instead of winding down when the sun sets.
So it's like we're constantly fighting our own biology.
In a way, yes. And this really points to a deeper truth, perhaps. We might need to consider making real permanent lifestyle changes, not just temporary fixes.
It sounds like it's about honoring that sort of contract our bodies have with these ancient viruses. Like, they'll stay quiet as long as we live closer to how we're designed to live.
That's a really interesting way to frame it, and it resonates with the sources, allowing them to coexist peacefully by living more in line with our evolutionary design.
Okay. What about extra support during a flare-up, though? Besides sleep and diet, the personal account mentions supplements and, crucially, IV therapies.
Yes, that came up quite strongly, specifically high doses of vitamin C, a Myers cocktail.
Which is that multivitamin blend, right?
Exactly, a well-known IV blend, and particularly glutathione, often called gluta.
Glutathione. Why is that one so important?
It's described in the sources almost as fuel for the liver. It's the body's master antioxidant and detoxifier, essential for countless liver functions, including, apparently, directly helping to deactivate viruses like CMV.
And why the IV route?
Primarily because of vastly better absorption and bioavailability. When you take it intravenously, it bypasses the digestive tract entirely.
Avoiding potential gut issues like leaky gut or poor absorption.
Precisely. It gets the glutathione right into the bloodstream, into the liver where it's needed most, making it potentially far more effective during an acute phase.
Interesting. Okay, so we have sleep, diet, maybe IV support. But let's circle back one last time to what seems like the absolute core issue here: stress.
Yes, the linchpin.
Because if you're managing all those other aspects, you're sleeping 9 hours, eating perfectly, getting supplements, but you're not actively reducing your adrenal load, that constant overdrive of your stress response system, the HPA axis, just relentlessly pumping out cortisol.
Then you're essentially still creating a breeding ground for CMV, aren't you?
Seems like it.
Stress is healthy in short bursts, of course. That fight or flight response is protective. But chronic stress, lasting months or even years, that can lead to a really negative and frankly debilitating experience with opportunistic viruses like this.
Right. So wrapping this all up, what does this really mean for you, the listener?
Well, I think it means that CMV, even though it's incredibly common, doesn't automatically have to define your health trajectory.
Yeah, it means understanding how this virus actually operates inside you, and maybe more importantly, realizing how much your daily choices can influence whether it stays quiet or flares up.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it just underscores this profound, really undeniable link between our environment, our lifestyle choices, and our internal health, our immune function. And the knowledge that such a widespread virus basically leverages our chronic stress and our, let's face it, often poor modern habits. It really raises an important question, doesn't it? What fundamental shifts in how we approach well-being might we need to consider if we're really living in this ongoing ancient contract with these hidden viral inhabitants within us?
That's a powerful thought. So this deep dive really shows you that by truly prioritizing that deep restorative sleep, embracing an anti-inflammatory way of eating, adopting genuinely sustainable healthy habits, not just quick fixes, and critically, managing your stress load, that you have significant power, real influence over your body's ability to keep CMV and likely other opportunistic viruses too, firmly in check.
Well said.
Definitely something to mull over until our next deep dive.